Hello and welcome to Trust Your Glitter podcast. This is Christy. I'm here with the astrology for the week of October 22nd through the 29th. Very excited we made it here. We are in the final phase of our book-ended 2023 eclipses. So this is going to be a big week, and it's kind of one of those weeks where you do have to look back to go forward. So I'm going to talk about the astrology of this week, but I'm also going to point out some of the dates that we've had throughout 2023 that led us to this point. So for those who listen to the podcast regularly, last week I talked about we were at the 50-yard line last week, and then this is the week we're going into touchdown. So this week is going to come out with a lot of things, like obviously the news and everything going on in current events is meant to kind of rock our world, whether, however we're experiencing this in our personal lives. This is going to be a time that really does want to shake us out of our comfort zone in order for us to make very autonomous decisions regarding our personal freedom, regarding our personal wellness. We're going to experience a lot this week, and in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I guarantee a lot of people either around us or even yourself have gone through some major changes. There can be upheavals. There's a dynamic between power and authority that is very much out for the world to see. And I'll keep saying this, there's a lot of things that we can't unsee. So in this particular week, this is a week where we're being asked a lot of questions, even though there's not a lot of transits. Like today, the Mercury moves into Scorpio, and then on the 23rd, the Sun enters Scorpio at 12:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to say happy birthday to all the Scorpios out there. It is your time to thrive. It is your time to really dig in and evolve in that way that you do. So this is a week where the transits actually of last week, which we had a lot going on last week. It was like a ping pong game. It was just like constant like transits, planets entering new signs. And we had the Cazimi last week. We had a lot of South Node activity. We had squares to Pluto. We had a lunar connection with Pluto. So this week we are going into our full moon lunar eclipse, and that'll be at 5 degrees Taurus on the 28th of October. That's at 4:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's it transit-wise. And then that lunar eclipse just comes through for us, shines brightly on the 28th. Now, the downtime this week, so last week on the podcast, I said, circle the dates, the 18th through the 22nd, but that extends into the 23rd, which is we're entering Scorpio season, and then the 24th, because on the 24th, we have the Sun trine Saturn. Now, today, as I record this podcast, Venus is trine Jupiter, which is very nice. It's this very harmonious energy with love, flow, creativity. So today, Sunday, the 22nd, if you're looking back in time, it's a very nice day to just be in your creative energy, creative life force. When Mercury enters Scorpio at 0 degrees Scorpio, Mercury will be trine to Saturn at 0 degrees Pisces. And then on the 24th, the Sun in Scorpio trines Saturn in Pisces. So again, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th are really nice days to put out creative projects, work on creative projects, to really appreciate music, art, anything creative. So the 25th, 26th, and 27th, they're not they're not like down days, meaning we've got, with eclipses, we just have to let them work their magic, and we just have to let them do their thing. And that doesn't mean that there's not going to be stories that are continuing in our lives. You know, these highlighted aspects of power, authority, taking our personal autonomy back. But they are days where I would say, if you're going to schedule, because we'll be into Scorpio season, because there are planets in Scorpio, we have Mercury and Mars now in Scorpio, I would say schedule some off times between the 25th up leading to this 28th eclipse. The 26th, we have Venus quincunx Chiron. Venus is in Virgo, Chiron is in Aries, Chiron is still retrograde. This can be a time that really highlights that stuff. I mean, like the family member you're having a conflict with. You know, it could just be that stuff bubbles up. You know, especially because we've had so many nice contacts in the early week with Venus. Venus is able to kind of see things from a more logical perspective, but it doesn't mean that pain or wounding is there. So if you're doing any self-therapy, the 25th through 28th are great days for really therapeutic work. And I would also say the 27th, we have Mars, who's at 10 degrees Scorpio, sesquiquadrate Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's retrograde still. This is meaning the energy of friction with our actions versus kind of that, say, like oftentimes, and I know with Taurus eclipse stuff, it can kick up a lot of that health chronic stuff. So this is like chronic rest, chronic fatigue, you know, things that you have that might be related to your immune system. This can kind of get kicked up this week, especially because the eclipse wants us to rest. So anything related to your body's barometer for being like, hey, you need to sleep some extra hours. You need to get the fuck away from people. You need to turn off your phone. These are the things that we'll start to feel pulling in as the week goes on. So it's not that they're easier days. It's just that take it easier days is the suggestion. So with this eclipse on the 28th, we're going to have the influence of Mercury and Mars together. Now, the exact connection between Mercury and Mars doesn't take place until the day after the eclipse. But on the 28th, I do want to point out Mercury sesquiquadrate Neptune. This is the energy again of friction. So between the 27th and 28th, there is this friction, and this is between Mercury and Mars to Neptune. So it's not like a heavy aspect, but this could even be stuff that you're remembering from your past. And we'll get into the past dates of the eclipses as well, but we're reflecting here. This could be some anger stuff boiling up. This could be really reflecting on, you know, things that, because this is Scorpio energy, where you were neglected or where you just felt like you were left behind. And in this particular case, there's a reason. So on the 28th as well, Mars, the energy of action, is at 11 degrees Scorpio, directly opposite Jupiter, who's retrograde in Taurus. Now, I like the fact that, you know, here we entered the week with a harmonious energy between Venus, creative life force, and Jupiter, which is this expansion, spiritual expansion, extreme life force. So there's a embodied aspect here, embodied feminine, embodied divine goddess energy. And on the 28th, Mars, who's that divine masculine, is opposite to Jupiter. So there is this twin flame dynamic here, and I haven't talked about the twin flame energy in a while, since about, you know, the Venus transits we were going through with the retrograde. But the twin flame has never left us, that twin flame, that inner divine masculine feminine. If you're working with your personal twin flame, this eclipse is definitely going to highlight who that person is in your life. They do not have to be a lover or, romantic connection in your life, but they definitely are somebody who tugs at your heartstrings. And it's going to be very apparent with this eclipse whether or not they're a healthy connection for you. So, everybody's at different phases of their lives, and eclipse get us at the phases we are at. In this particular case, on the 28th, Mars opposite Jupiter is going to say, hey, this is a reflection energy between the divine sacred masculine and spiritual growth. So I don't want to, get people's hopes up and say that, if you've been in kind of a tumultuous relationship, that this could be somebody turning a new leaf, things like that. But I do want to say that the eclipse herself is at 5 degrees Taurus, which is the sacred feminine energy, the sacred divine mother, the sacred divine goddess, and she's not here to play. So Mars getting this opposition on the day of the eclipse is kind of like the sacred masculine is also getting a very strong lesson here. And oppositions are exactly what they are. They're a mirror, they're an opposition. They're something that gives us a little bit of, oh, that's the other side of the story. For some people, as we work through the solar eclipse energy with Libra, which is, very much highlighting where an imbalance is. In this particular case, with Mars looking towards Jupiter, this could be a miracle. This could be a miracle realization for some people. Now, whether it's somebody is like coming around to their own bullshit, or whether it's somebody is coming around to somebody else's own bullshit and saying, you know what, I don't need to take that anymore. It's really up to your personal story. Everybody has their own experience with your natal chart. So it really has to deal with look to where this Taurus eclipse is taking place in your chart. And because it's a lunar eclipse, we're looking at the opposites. So yes, the moon is in Taurus. The sun is in Scorpio. So you kind of want to take a look at where your Scorpio zone is in your chart and where your Taurus zone is in your chart and really see how this is going to affect you. With this Mercury connection to Mars, it is going to be highlighted as well with the eclipse. So there are pivotal, deep conversations that could happen. And they do create action. And because we have, the influence of Libra Aries, breakups and divorces and changes in relationships are meant to happen under these series of eclipses, whether it's, consciously uncoupling type stuff where people are aware and in their highest good for one another, or things are rocking and just off kilter. And, it really depends on the maturity level between people. So with the 29th exact connection between Mercury and Mars, saying, hey, we know the truth here. Especially in Scorpio, you can't unhide from a Scorpionic energy. Scorpio is the depths, is the investigator. It is those deep layers of our lives where, it's psychological stuff. It's that energy of really seeping in, merging. And on the same day, the 29th, Uranus is trine Venus. Now, Uranus is in Taurus. We don't have a connection between Uranus and the eclipse, but as the eclipse extends out, we're going to have, this Taurus moon moving through the sign of Taurus, connecting to eventually Jupiter and connecting to eventually Uranus. So as we move through, we're going to have this influence of the planet Jupiter, which is benevolence, kindness, and gifts. Sometimes the gifts are saying, this is what I need for me versus this is what you've been doing for everybody else. And it sounds so simple, but it could just be like setting that extreme boundary of being like, you are not taking on this crap anymore. If you're a business owner, it could be like you have to delegate. If you're a parent, it's you have to set certain standards. If you're in some sort of turmoil with anybody, It's you putting your foot down. That's what this Taurus lunar eclipse is releasing. It's releasing where you've not stepped up for your own energy, because Taurus is an earth sign. This is you taking extreme care of yourself. This is you to the finite degree. So it's, Taurus is pleasure and happiness and good food and appreciating aesthetics of your home. If you can't appreciate your life because some other bullshit has been going down, really ask yourself, is this here to create peace, or is this something that you have to just let go? And the last time we saw an eclipse like this was in October of 2005. And so you have to really reflect on where you were in your life in October of 2005. History of this year with the eclipses. So as we head out of this last eclipse of 2023, I can't believe we made it. We've made it. But think of all the things between April 20th of this year, where we had the solar eclipse at 29 degrees Aries. Then we had May 5th, a lunar eclipse at 14 degrees Scorpio. So think back to this time and what was going on. There was so much in the astrology going on. We had fixed crosses in the sky. We had movement with Pluto between Aquarius and then going back into Capricorn again. We had a lot going on. And we were going into energies that were setting us up for the Venus retrograde in the sign of Leo. So we had a lot of fixed energy in the sky in the springtime. We went from cardinal to a really heavily fixed. And fixed signs are Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. So it's that energy that wants to hold. And if we had a holding pattern there, it could have been the seed was planted for a lot of us. We were growing a garden. This could be a psychological garden for a lot of people. An idea was set. This could be something was yet to transpire that we didn't see. So then we go through the summer, which was a long Venus retrograde. Taurus is Venus ruled. So we want to also acknowledge the fact that Venus was in Leo for such a long time and gave Taurus, the energy of Taurus, a huge lesson for your autonomy, self-expression, what your heart really desires. And it was fated. There's a lot of fated energy. And because Jupiter and Uranus are still in the sign of Taurus, Venus did aspect both of these planets in a very major way and had big lessons. So Jupiter-Venus was a square with the Venus retrograde. There was friction between your self-expression, what you really wanted to say, and keeping the peace in some sort of way, or not keeping the peace for many. Then there was a square between Venus and Uranus, which is that chaotic friction in your life. A lot of it could have been really, really good, where it was this is something beyond your wildest dreams. But at the same time, it's beyond your wildest dreams. It took a lot of courage to do that. It took a lot of courage to take this step. It took a lot of courage to go into your truth. And because Taurus is this slow-moving earth sign, it takes a lot to get a Taurus to move. So these kind of aspects were meant to get you to make moves, to make changes, to really be in a little bit of upheaval. And not be in that aspect of going along to get along. So here we are at the end of 2023, October 14th, solar eclipse in Libra. This is Venusian ruled as well. This is highlighting our relationships, highlighting what we really want, highlighting our journey. And now as we have this October 28th eclipse at 5 degrees Taurus, there is this energy of, are you wanting to let go? Because again, this is full moon's release, let go. Are you wanting to let go of somebody that doesn't really exist anymore? We've been through a lot. That version of yourself actually is especially as we're heading into the season of the veils being even thinner, because this week the veils are getting thinner and thinner as we head into next week. So this week we're also connected to our spirit world in a very, very, very deep way. You know, you might have some, especially as the eclipse approaches, you know, signs from the other side. Ancestor route. And as you have this, and that's when the door blows open, the ancestors come through, you know, really appreciate that they really want you in the highest version of yourself. But I just also want to highlight our next eclipse will be in March 25th of 2024, and that'll be at 5 degrees Libra. And then April 8th will be the big, big, big eclipse, especially if you live in the United States. This is another great American eclipse. It's huge. What really, really highlights that route was that solar eclipse that we had at 20, the solar and lunar eclipses. So the solar eclipse at 21 Libra had a very similar route or path across the US. Not the exact same path, but it does highlight some of the cities that we're going to be looking at on April 8th. And then we'll have eclipses later on in 2024, September 17th at 25 degrees Pisces, and October 2nd at 10 degrees Libra, and that's 2024. So look at these times as pockets of change, evolution, growth, finding a new symphony for yourself. So ceremonies with this moon, you know, can be very simple. Lighting a candle for yourself. You know, if you have a safe space where you can write a letter and burn it. You know, anything where you can release to the elements, especially Earth, and really allow Mother Earth to be your mother, your sacred guide. Because this is where we are in that deep Earth energy. But there's this very strong lesson of healing our heart wounds and centering ourselves, especially if you are a divine feminine listening to this, or you are supporting a divine feminine listening to this, or you're a counterpart. You know, really, if you are a divine masculine listening to this and you have a partnership, really honor her in your life. You know, the Venusian aspect. It's that balance between the relationship that's really being given a chance here. And for those who are uncoupling right now, this is you being that best counterpart to yourself. So I hope you enjoy this beautiful eclipse. It has so many lessons. It is packed full of nutrients. It is packed full of lunar nutrients for us. And I want to say thank you so much for listening to Trust Your Glitter. I'm Christy Belich. You can find me on all social media. And I just send so much love out there to everybody in the world. There's so much going on, but I do think that there's power to following the lunar cycles and really a lot of healing as we lean into these new times we're being shown. So have a great week ahead. Take care.